Chris, what is our second main topic today?
This is from Jonathan Trenton. With movies like Deadpool and shows like Peacemaker showing what an R-rated comic book movie can do, I was really disappointed when they announced The Batman was going to be PG-13. I still sort of hoped we'd see an R-rated version on Blu Ray or something later, but I just saw Matt Reeves say that there isn't one. My question is, why not? I get worried about box office for theaters, but why not include it in the Blu Ray?
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in. And yeah, this has been, first of all, we are 11 days, I think, from our first viewing of The Batman. By the way, they did some initial press screenings for The Batman last night. And I believe the reactions are allowed to come out on February 28th, the day before we go to see it. So, reaction watch coming on the 28th probably at some point. But that being said, we're 11 days away from going to see the film. Super excited about it. But one of the narratives and conversations that's been going on around the Batman is, and I don't know why, but has been this thing about being rated R. Now, I personally think it's a ridiculous conversation to have. Batman has never been rated R, and you can do a hell of a lot of stuff in movies and TV. The only thing that's stopping a Batman from being rated R is, make sure you see a big splash of blood, or show titties, or have Batman say fuck 7 times.
Yeah.
That will make the movie better if you do all those things. I've never understood that mentality. I really haven't. There are some titles and some characters that maybe are more appropriate that's for, and that does kind of speak more to the DNA of the characters. The Batman's never been that. So when they came out and announced that the Batman was going to be PG-13, I never ceased to be surprised. I could not believe how many people got online to be upset that it wasn't rated R. It's like, The Dark Knight was rated PG-13. A lot of people consider it to be the greatest comic book film of all time. That being as it may. After they announced that it was going to be rated PG-13, there was some speculation going around, understandably so, that when it comes time for home video, that's when they'll release the Matt Reeves director's R-rated cut of the film, that was going to be part of it. And I get it, because that has happened several times in the past. I get why people wondered that. I wondered it myself. I wonder if they're going to do that. It's possible, maybe. Well, Matt Reeves has kind of put an end to that speculation. And he says not only is there not going to be one, he said there was never going to be one. So when the person writes in and asks, well, why not leave that stuff in for the Blu Ray thing? Well, there's nothing to leave in. Matt Reeves never shot it to be a rated R. This comes to us from Variety. And this is Matt Reeves speaking, saying, in my mind, the movie was always going to be a gritty, edgy, noir, thrilling spectacle that was PG-13. That was always what it was. But I always knew that we'd be pushing the limits of what that could be, and so we didn't really have to cut anything. I'm happy we got the rating because I want people to be able to come and see the movie, Reeves stressed that no R-rated version of the Batman exists. If anything, Reeves worried that pushing the limits of the PG-13 rating would tip the Batman over into R territory and that he would then have to make cuts. But as Matt Reeves has said, we didn't have to cut anything. Everything we wanted to put in there to make it as edgy as we wanted to be, as noir, as thriller, as everything as we wanted to be, we were able to keep it in there. So if you were somebody that was hoping for an R-rated director's cut or something to come later, I get why you would think it was possible, because I think it was possible, but apparently that is not the case. And quite frankly, I'm perfectly good with that. The Batman does not need to be rated R. Like, it looks like from the trailer, this movie is hyper violent. I mean, you just see that in the trailer. It is hyper violent. There's a visceralness to the violence that Batman visits on the people he's beaten on. And would a blood splash on the wall make those scenes better? I don't know. If Catwoman ripped her shirt open to show her chest, does that make it better? If Robert Pattinson decided to say, want to see the sparkly skin on my junk in the sunlight, and drop trow, does that make the movie better? No. Maybe there's some people yelling yes to all that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Let's celebrate International Women's Day.
But yes, we're celebrating as Ryan Reynolds did International Women's Day. That doesn't make the movie better.
No.
Not a Batman film. Maybe something else, whatever. So, number one, I'm thrilled to hear that Matt Reeves didn't have to cut anything from his cut of the film. It sounds like what we're going to see in theaters is the Matt Reeves cut. So I'm excited to hear it. Anyway, Rob, you're hearing Matt Reeves' comments here. What do you make of them?
Look, I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, a movie casts a tone, or it casts a spell and tries to achieve a certain tone. I would say that having say Catwoman and Batman have some erotically charged Basic Instinct-esque sex scene in the middle of this movie. While that might be entertaining, I think that would shatter the tone of what this movie is trying to do. And I think you talk about what gives you an R rating: language, body humor, body, and sexuality. Does that belong in a movie like this? And I would say no. Deadpool is an R-rated character in general, especially in the films, and they add to that. The actual enjoyment of that movie comes from the tone of that character, who is R-rated. Let's face it, the way he dispatches people with bladed weapons, the jokes he cracks. I mean, same with Peacemaker. Peacemaker is an R. The tone of it is R-rated. The tone of the Batman is not R-rated. And even if you look at The Dark Knight, John, the opening scene when they attack the bank and Joker machine guns down, I forget the name of the actor. Why am I drawing a blank? I love that character actor. He's in Heat. He's in Contact, but he's the guy who runs the bank at the beginning. There's no blood squibs. He gets machine gunned on the ground, and if you aren't really looking for it, you would never notice that there's no blood squibs. It's still a hardcore scene. He still gets shot to death. Joker still rocks and rolls, but there's no blood. That's the difference between an R and a PG. And is it really any different? It's the same sequence.
Or at least a PG-13.
Or PG-13. And I would say, does that affect the film? Not at all.
No, I agree. And look, let me be very, very clear about something here. All right? Just in case you misinterpret me. I love the filthy.
Yeah, me too.
Bring on the filthy.
I love Basic Instinct.
Listen, I'm a guy. Listen, I'm a dude. Look, I like sex and nudity and all that I love all of it. I do. Bring it on. But what I'm not a huge fan of in my storytelling is gratuitousness. And when something is gratuitous is when you put something in there just so it can be there. Like, I don't care about swearing. I swear all the time. But if you're having a character just dropping F-bombs just to do it, like it doesn't fit with the scene, it doesn't fit with the character, then it just feels gratuitous to me and it pulls me out of the movie. I love good nudity. Love it. But if you're going to drop it in just so we can say, look, we put in nudity, then it feels gratuitous to me and takes me out of the movie. So I'm a fan of all this stuff. Just use it in movies where it's appropriate for it and then it fits with it and it draws you in. I don't know. Chris, you hearing Matt Reeves talking about like, hey, I always planned this thing to be a PG-13 thing. Does that surprise you that there's not going to be an R-rated cut? Do you think it could have benefited from some more R-rated material? How do you see it?
No and no. And I'm a nice lady. I've never said fuck once. I'm a sweet, sweet, genteel Southern woman. I have a big problem in movies when there's sexposition, right? Where it's just like, we're going to show you some tits so you pay attention to this plot point. Easy, Ray.
She's speaking to her audience right beside.
Right? Or I'm just like, this is an important plot point. There's some boobs for you, Ray.
There's a point.
But like that doesn't do anything for me. And then the gratuitous violence thing too. I know some people in the chat here are like, man, but we had that in Logan, we have that in Deadpool. Yeah, because those characters, it makes sense. If you're sticking your claws in someone and ripping it out of a body, yeah, that calls for a blood squib. Batman, for most storylines and for most character work, does not kill. So why do I need to see him doing Mortal Kombat-esque violence? That's what I want in those kinds of stories, not here. I want to see him be the world's greatest detective and wear some Kevlar.
Yeah, now look, I'm not sitting here saying that would I be bothered if they had some of that material. Not at all. I'm not saying it would have bothered me. I'm just saying it doesn't bother me that it's not there because there's no need for it.
Exactly.
But anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about Matt Reeves' comments here about the stuff he's said he didn't record or shoot any R-rated stuff that needed to be taken out of the film? Are you surprised by that? I'll be honest.
There's no pantyless interrogation scene in this movie?
Yeah, there's
darn it.
A little bit. Yeah, just all you know what we really need? We need a little bit of that white dress and the police thing. Yep, no.
I want a quarter scale action figure of that scene though.
I know you do.
I want more turtlenecks.
More turtlenecks.
I love my ladies covered.
There's an action figure?
Double, triple
quarter scale statue.
Double, triple layer. The thickness of that sweater. Let's go.
I don't know how to feel about that.
I'm just saying.
I have Catherine Tremell right next to Vito Corleone.
I like layers.
Layers are good.
All right. Anyway, guys, questions for you. How do you think about this? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.